Hello friends! Today we are going to just sit down and talk about the Fetes Galantes in the Palace of Versailles. Y'all asked me a ton of questions over on Instagram and I did my best to condense them all into this video. If you haven't already seen it, I made an entire video discussing this gown that I made for the party, and I won't be discussing any of that here in this video. I'm just going to talk about the actual event itself. So if you want to go watch that video, there's the link. Let's start with the most basic question. How do you go about planning for the event? Where does everyone usually stay when attending the event, and is it hard to get hotels nearby? So the first thing that I did was actually book my hotel a couple of days after they announced the event in 2023. The event happened in 2023. They put an announcement out on their Facebook page. I will link the Facebook page below so that you can also follow it. They've actually already announced next year's date. So you can already save the date now and have an idea of when it's going to happen and start kind of planning and dreaming up what you want to do for it. After that day that they announced the dates for 2024, I booked a hotel. There are several hotels around that are within walking distance, so I don't think that there is a huge need to hotel hunt and race to get it. I just personally wanted to because I was trying to make a promise to myself that I was going to do this event. So I booked the Hotel of Versailles. It was $300 a night, and then I also added the extra 30 euros on to be able to pay for the breakfast. So I got breakfast every single morning. It was really worth it. The room was spectacular. It was so beautiful. I really loved having windows that opened up to the street. I could watch people walk in and out of when they were in their costumes in and out of the hotel. I definitely sat at the window with them completely open and a blanket and my book a couple mornings just drinking espresso. It was really nice. It was really relaxing. I did plan an entire year in advance. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that's just how I wanted to plan it because I wanted to actually make sure that I was going to do it this year versus previous years where I was like, oh yeah, I'll just wait till next year. Tickets went on sale in November. It actually was during American Thanksgiving. Historically, tickets have gone sale in October as well. So I just kept checking the website and checking the Facebook page until they announced when they were gonna go on sale. And then obviously I put it on my calendar and I hunted around for that. This year, they did sell the tickets in batches, and so they had the largest amount available in November, and then they sold a few more at a different date. The November sale sold out in I think 30 minutes, but they also had their servers crash, so the website didn't work for a lot of people for a period of time. All right, friends, it is 6:30 on Thanksgiving, and I've been up since 4:30. Fetes Galantes tickets were supposed to go up at 5, and the website, no bueno. It was awful, but anyway, I got tickets, so Fetes Galantes, here we come. Yay! I will say people were reselling their tickets up until the day of the event. So if you don't get a ticket right away, you can check some of the Facebook groups and things like that to see if anyone's reselling tickets, and you could get lucky and get some tickets that way as well. So let's just talk about the ticket basics. There were 4 style of tickets, or 4 groups of tickets. I don't remember the exact prices, but I do know my price for sure. The top ticket tier was the Doge. I think those were €1,000 a person, but I honestly cannot remember. I just remember that it was a huge jump up from the King and Queen to the Doge. I've heard that getting the Doge ticket isn't the best if it's your first time because you're kind of off in your own area and you don't get the opportunity to really mingle and meet with as many people if you're trying to get your money's worth of that ticket price. Personally, I got the King and Queen ticket, which was the one right below it. This was around €500 a ticket, and it allows you in the palace 30 minutes early, which for my first time going, I think was really beneficial because it meant that I got to see everything and I got just a little bit more time in the Palace of Versailles, which is amazing and beautiful. The events that I personally chose were the Baroque music, dancing in the Hall of Mirrors, and then also a tour of the King's private chambers. I'll talk a little bit more about like all of that when I talk about the actual day of the event, but the ticket underneath mine is called the Duke and Duchess. I believe those were €400 a piece. Those are probably what I'll get in the future. It's basically everything the same as like the King and Queen, except I don't believe it's a different like set of events that you get to do, and then I also don't think you get in 30 minutes early. And then finally, there was the Marquis and Marquises. I don't actually remember the price of this. It's obviously going to be lower than the Duke and Duchess. All right, let's talk about the dress code for this event. There is technically a dress code, so your costume doesn't have to be historically accurate to the time period like the 17th or 18th century. It absolutely can be. You can be as accurate as you want to be, but it doesn't have to be. You can wear any fancy dress. There were people that bought dresses off of Amazon and put a hoop skirt under them. There were people in cosplay, and like none of the attendees really like were picky about accuracy either. So like I was really worried that the other people attending would be like, purple is not a color historically accurate to the 18th century. I didn't have any of that. People loved it. People really enjoyed it. People made costumes every color, it was very forgiving, and the people were really cool and really nice. I will say for the menswear specifically, I did not see a single man like in just like a tux. Like every single guy that I saw was in some kind of variation of like 17th or 18th century fashion, which I thought was really cool. And then there was also a lot of people playing with gender and then playing also with fashion. So it's not completely like out of the blue to use this as an opportunity to be fashion, which I really liked as well, because it actually added this uniqueness and it allowed people to kind of like be able to represent themselves as like them as an artist as well. Like you don't just have to be a historical costume person to attend. You do have to, however, be in a costume. So that is like the dress code essentially, is you do have to actually be in a costume. And I'll be honest, it makes it more fun. Like everyone is playing pretend. You might as well join along. Like it was so much fun. So now I'm gonna kind of like share the actual experience of the event, what I did, that kind of stuff. The event takes place from 6:30 p.m. until around midnight. There are like costume gatherings happening the entire weekend. So I heard about like a couple different ones like a little bit further away from Versailles, and then the Saturday before, and then the Sunday before there was a tea party and like another event at night. I didn't know about any of those going into them, so I didn't attend any of them, but now that I do know about them, I know to kind of like look for them, and I know to kind of like be active in the Facebook groups if I want to actually attend any of them. So to prepare for the actual event, I started my day by steaming my gown. I will say there is only one iron in the entire hotel. So I luckily made some friends the day before. Thank you, Virginia, so much for letting me borrow your steamer. I made some friends the day before and I was able to borrow their steamer. I steamed my gown. I steamed the court suit that I made. That took around 2 hours though, and I was exhausted. Mistakes were made? No, I'm joking. But like, I would recommend bringing a steamer if you are gonna go to this event, or like bring a group steamer if you know several people. But either way, definitely that's how my day started, was steaming this. And then I spent about two and a half hours on my hair and makeup. I did my own hair and makeup. I didn't want to travel with a wig. I specifically touched up my hair right before the event so that I could use my own hair. I actually designed the gown so that I could use my own hair. It was really fun for me. I enjoyed it. I've only done 18th century hair twice before on myself. I've done wig styling, but not like on my own hair. And I did it completely different. So this was really fun for me to just play and try something new. And I really liked it. And I got a lot of compliments on it. So that was pretty cool. I did makeup, and then about like 5 o'clock, we went downstairs to the lobby. There was already people like hanging out in costume, getting drinks at the bar, just like chatting it up. So we just kind of stood around and chatted with people and like complimenting each other on their costumes. This is kind of my favorite part of these types of events, is like, love your costume, like you look amazing, oh my god. You know, that is kind of like half of the fun. All right, and then at about 5:30, 5:45, we started making our way over to the Golden Gates. I really wanted to get pictures in front of the gates. I really wanted to get like B-roll of the outside of Versailles, the sky was stunning. And so I did get some photos and videos of the sky like over Versailles as well, because it just was so beautiful. And I wanted to make sure that I like really had time to do all of that. And I also mingled some more because there was like people hanging out, and that was really fun. I met a friend, Lisa, who we helped with her wig, and like we saw her at the gates, and so we were just chatting and like being all friendly. And that was kind of really fun about the event too, is all of these people are staying so close that you kind of meet a lot of people, and then you'll see them over and over again through the event. So even if you're going like by yourself or just with one person, you know, you'll eventually like recognize like faces, and everyone's really kind. Just like start talking to people. That's what I do. Also, there were photographers and videographers outside of the event, which was really cool. There was also photographers and videographers following certain people. I believe one person hired an actual person to do video and photo of them at the Fete, which I thought was really neat. That is an option. For me, I did everything on my phone. So all of the footage, everything that you have seen from this event was on my phone, which is kind of cool. So at 6:30, we got to line up to get our wristband. Well, first we go into the event, like they make you go through security. It's funny because everyone's gowns, like everyone goes off in the metal detector. And then like they give you a wristband so that the rest of the night, instead of having to like show your ticket, you just say like, hey, I'm in a King and Queens. Mine was purple, so it matched my gown. And then we got to go into basically like the courtyard. Again, I spent a lot of time like taking video and photos, and they also had like people holding champagne, like so they would give you champagne as you entered, and they had like a little drum corps going, just like trumpets and drums. So when you enter the actual palace, like you get like music playing as you enter, which I thought was really cool. I did actually get a glass of champagne. I don't drink, and I didn't drink it, but I definitely wanted to hold the glass of champagne as I walked into Versailles. Like, I don't know, just that visual and that feeling, I really wanted to feel that. And I know that's kind of wasteful, and I definitely just set it down later. I don't know, like whatever, you're only there once. So it was special, it was cool. When you walk in, there's like a cloakroom, so if you did like wear an outer layer because of the rain or whatever, or brought a big bag or anything, you can just check it. They have actual like a team of people greet you and like announce you to court, which was really, really magical. I didn't expect that at all. It was really fun watching others get like announced to court, and then like I went and I was like, oh my god, what's my name? Like I literally couldn't think of what my name was. I was so like starstruck, but that was really fun. And then you get to go like up the stairs, and they hold you like right at the doors until 7 when it all opens up again. But once you go into the palace, so like you just pass through the foyer and the grand staircase. Once you go into the actual like palace, right as you walk in, there is music and ballet dancers, and that was like, I just didn't know what to expect at all. So my face the whole time is just like so I had no clue what to expect, but it was just wonderful. I went straight to like as close like to the like railing to watch the ballet dancers because I was like just so excited. And obviously I got like footage inside the room. I took photos of the ceiling and the walls because that's what you do. So as like the king and queen ticket holder, you get your own seating and like snack buffet and drink buffet, and then the duchess and dukes get their own as well, and then the doge has their own as well. So they're all separate areas, and that's also why I think like the doge is all the way on the other side of the palace, and it's a lot larger space from what I understand. Like I think you're actually in one of the chambers. The first thing I did was go and like kind of explore. I wanted to see kind of what food they had at the snack table because I'm a vegetarian, and I was like, all right, I gotta make a game plan if like I need to eat. I went to the snack table and sat down for a hot second because there was no one there. Got some water. It is kind of warm, like it's not awful, but it does get warmer throughout the night because of all the bodies in the palace. But I was definitely like just like living my best life. After like having a snack time, when you pick your 3 events, you have a special time for those 3 events. Our first event was the Baroque music at 8 p.m. So this is kind of where I went wrong. I didn't like get a lay of the land before I sat down for food. So we actually ended up missing the chamber or the Baroque music because it was like 8:15 when I finally found where the like entrance to that area was, and it ends at 8:25. So that was kind of a womp womp, but something that my friend Sarah told me that like was really, really helpful and I kept in mind the whole time was you don't have to do the events. Like you can do them, but if you really are just vibing and you just want to experience the palace, it's totally okay to not do your events. So I'm gonna give that advice to you all too. It's okay if you don't do the events or if you just miss it because you didn't know where you were going. But so basically while looking for that, I made my way to the Hall of Mirrors. It was a really beautiful time of day. It was so bright in there without actually like having they have stage lights for the nighttime, like once the sun goes down, but like it was so beautiful. They had dancing already started. The dancing lessons had already started. Like, I didn't even know, like this room, this hall, I can't even, like I just can't. And you have to go through like 4 or 5 chambers before you get there. And in each one, they have cool different like experiences. One of the ones that I specifically did was the perfumer, where you get to go up to the perfumer and smell stuff and then they'll like spritz you with perfume. I really actually wish I could have bought mine. It was like apricot and peach. It was so good and I felt like at the end of the night I didn't want to wash it off. I was like, I just want to smell like this. You can't actually buy it. They had like games, so they would have like a card game, like that was an actual game that existed in that era. They had like some table games too, and it was really fun to kind of like watch people, and that was a really cool thing to see. They had a throne could sit on at one point. I thought that was pretty cool. That line was really long the whole time. My favorite though that I didn't get to do was the fortune teller. She was all the way at the other end of the Hall of Mirrors, and by the time I got there, because you know I'm just like slowly scooching my way through the Hall of Mirrors, just taking it all in, the line was really long. I just thought it was really cool. It was really, really neat. So even though like there was the events, there was also these little side quests that you could do along the way. After that was our tour of the King's Chambers. I want to say they said it was King Louis the 16th's chambers. It was really cool. Our guide had a lot of really good history. I definitely hung back so that I could take photos and things in each of the rooms. My absolute favorite room was what they called the secret chamber, and this is kind of where they hold secret meetings. Typically, like if like there's a political movement going on where they're like, we don't want this to be full, we don't want all of the politicians to know, just like a couple, they would have their meeting there, and it was like a very private room. I definitely think that we should have a twirl party in that room, so I did that. I twirled in it. I thought it was fun. That's that. The actual chamber room, or like the bedroom, was under construction, so we didn't really get to see a lot of it. They were recreating the bed from that time, which I think is a really cool thing, but it was kind of disappointing that we didn't get to see it all done up. We just got to see one big curtain in front of it. But either way, it led us right into the Hall of Mirrors, once again, my favorite room. And it was like 5 minutes before it was time for our dance lesson. I did do 18th century dance lessons. They teach you 3 separate dances, and I think it's in like 30 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. It's a very short amount of time. The first 2 I nailed. I was like, let's go. I got this. Like, I'm a pro. I could teach this. Like, I got this. But the third one, I don't know if my brain just like shut off or if it was just like that much more difficult. The third dance was like really hard, and I was basically not getting it, and I was also sweating really bad, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna dip out. So like I saw where you can exit it, and we just kept doing the dance until we got there, and like right as we were like 1 row of people away from the exit, like it ended, and I was like, well, I guess I didn't know about it this technically, but emotionally I was like, I'm done. So then we were at this like really great window spot looking out at the gardens of Versailles, and at 11:45 they do fireworks, but then they have a whole dance right before it. So I was like, well, you know what? I just want to stand here and I just want to watch the other people dance. I want to people watch. My friend Lisa was there, so I saw her. We saw our friends Patrick and Sarah, and they came over and stood with us. And so we just watched people like doing the dance. They had a little processional too, which I thought was cool, where it was like actual like hired dancers and things like that. And they came out and they danced, and it was beautiful. After like a good 30 minutes of like group dance in the Hall of Mirrors, which I think next time I will definitely join, it was time for the fireworks. And so we literally just like turned around and we had perfect window standing of the fireworks, and it was beautiful. It was so emotional. I didn't expect myself to get like sappy while watching it. I was like, oh my god. But they had like music playing. I don't know, it just was really beautiful. And there would be times where I'd like look around behind me and see the fireworks in the mirror. It just was, it was just crazy. It was magical. And the fireworks show was about 10 or 15 minutes, and that brought us to like midnight. So it was like, we're Cinderella turning into a pumpkin now. Actually, one of my favorite parts of the whole night was the side of the Hall of Mirrors we were on is like the very end. So they literally have like guards like slowly pushing people out. And so we were at the tail end taking videos and photos, and like the guards were literally like pushing us out to get like through, and they did the whole way there. It was really fun because we were just trying to bite every minute we had. Like we were just, oh, this is a good spot, let's get a video here. Oh, this is a good photo, like let's do this. It was really cool. And they did that through the Hall of Mirrors, through all of the chambers. So like I said, like maybe 4 rooms, down the stairs, like down the foyer stairs, out the foyer, through the cloakroom, and then they opened up the gates at this point, the front gates, and we were trying to be in the courtyard for every ounce of like minute that we had. Like we were trying so hard to hang on to every second that we got in the palace, and finally they escorted us through the gold gates, and like we got kicked out of Versailles. Not really, obviously, but it was like it felt like it, because they were literally like, get out of here. Get out of here. Go on. Then it's like probably 12:15. It's like 12:30. Like, no, it's probably later. We decided we were gonna order Pizza Hut and get it delivered to our hotel. And I changed out of my dress, but I was like, I'm gonna keep my hair. And I got my hair and makeup on in my PJs and had Pizza Hut. And I'm pretty sure I fell asleep in my hair and makeup because whatever, as one does. Like, it's 1:30 in the morning and I'm eating Pizza Hut in Versailles. Like, whatever. Stuffed crust pizza. So that's kind of the event. Photos and like video type content is all up to you. I've heard people say that you can book photographers, but it's all up to you. You got to figure it out and do it your own. I just used my phone for all of it and I was happy with it. So now I'm going to answer a few specific questions that just didn't fall under all of that. So the first is, what was a piece of this experience that surprised you or you didn't expect in a pleasant way? I think like the biggest surprise was all of those little like interactive things like the fortune teller and the perfumer. I just like really enjoyed getting to watch people interact and engage in this like time period. I thought that was really cool. It also gave us something like little things to do throughout the night that weren't like super strict. I think that was kind of my favorite. Again, I would love to have gotten to fortune teller, but next time. What are some expectations versus reality about the event? What's overhyped versus worth it? I expected the dress code to be heavier or like more enforced. And I'm actually kind of glad it's not, because I realized that would make it even more inaccessible. When I think about how much time I spent on the costumes I made for this event, or how much money a lot of people spent to get custom made 18th century gowns, I feel like this is already a very expensive event. And so looking back, I'm actually kind of glad that it's not as strict of a costume like entry, but I did expect it. And I also expected the people that were attending, that attended a lot, to have like really high expectations of the attendees. And there was literally like everyone was doing their own thing. Like no one cared. It was actually some of my favorite moments, like listening to like other people compliment each other. I thought it was really cool. And I got a lot of compliments too, but like it was really nice and encouraging. So that was definitely expectation versus reality. Overall, like it was pretty hyped the way that I thought it would be. I didn't think it was overhyped at all. I would have added 2 more hours, even though my feet hurt, I would have added 2 more hours on top of it. Let's just talk about how much this cost. Okay, so the question is, how much is it to attend, including travel and very general costume build cost? So full TLDR, I took this opportunity to go to Europe 2 weeks prior to the event and do a bunch of other stuff. So I'm not gonna include any of the cost of that in this trip. We're just gonna focus on the flights to Paris. This is gonna be for 2 people. So the flights to Paris, the hotel, the cost of making 2 costumes, the tickets, and like food and stuff. So I did 3 nights in Versailles. I got there the day before the event, stayed the day of obviously the event, I stayed the night, and then I did 1 whole day for the gardens, went afterwards, and then I left the day after. I did also have the breakfasts included, so we both got to have breakfast every morning downstairs. It was like a buffet style, and so that made it like a little bit more expensive for my hotel, but I also think that the hotel price is pretty normal. So again, like including costumes and all of that, it costs about $7,000. So it's really not like a cheap event. It does take a lot of planning. It does take a lot of saving. You can do some of it on points. I personally flew on points, but if I hadn't flown, the ticket price for where we were staying or for where, like what flights we got would have, that's like what it would have been bundled into that cost. And that's also coming from the United States. I should specify, obviously if you're coming from somewhere closer, it's probably not gonna be that much money. But yeah, I spent 3 weeks making 2 costumes for this event. If you were to like hire somebody for that time, that would have tacked on a lot more money to the price. But I spent 3 weeks. I think I spent around like $1,500 to $1,800 in materials for the event, for the actual garments. Was it worth the trip, and would you go again? Absolutely worth it. I'm like super happy I went. This was like a dream event for me to attend. I went into it being like, I may only be able to ever do this once, so let's do it. I definitely am planning to go in 2026. We will see where I'm at in life then, but I am planning to attend in 2026. If you were to return, what would you do differently / focus on more? So next time I definitely would get the Duke and Duchess tickets just to save a little bit of money, but also because I don't necessarily need that extra 30 minutes this time. Although who knows, like YOLO. I would skip going to the food at the beginning and actually go straight to the Hall of Mirrors and get photos and pictures before they started the dancing lessons. And then I would go from there to the fortune teller and get my fortune told, because I really want that. And then I would also make sure that I knew where all of my activities were as well, so that like when it was time to go to like my music opportunity, I could actually go to it and find it. I think I would also like try to seek out and attend more events around the Fetes Galantes. So not just the Fete, but also like any of like the tea parties or there is another event at another chateau, any of that stuff. Like I think I would seek that kind of stuff out next time and try to make it an entire trip around like being in pretty costumes and pretty locations, because that's ultimately all I want to do with my life is like make beautiful costumes to wear at events in beautiful locations, spending time with friends, enjoying life. So I think that is like what I would do. The last question, what was my favorite costume? There was this really incredible costume that somebody made of like the Hall of Mirrors, like with peacocks and marionettes. It was super beautiful and thought out and interesting, and I loved it. Like it was so cool. I couldn't stop looking at it. It was great. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to see how I made my gown, you can watch this video right here. And if you would like to support this channel and get cute little emojis, early access to videos, all that jazz, join my memberships. I will link it somewhere in this area below. And I guess until next time, stay spooky, friends.